welcome back to the Nash Metal Production Channel here at YouTube. So, after releasing their second official studio album, No Guts, No Glory, back in 2010, 3 years later, they returned to the studio with new producer Brian Howes to record their pretty much their third official studio album. Of course, their I guess at this point, true second release for, of course, label Roadrunner, but also their last for Roadrunner. That's, of course, is Black Dog Barking, which dropped on the markets on 21st of May in 2013. So, again, with this album, it's just, the same a basic idea of no bullshit, no ballads, hard rock and roll. However, this is probably their most, I don't want to say commercially sounding or their most mainstream, but it's definitely the most well produced. And this is probably the album I would say Airbourne really kind of started to break out a bit of those. I kind of want to say they really started to break out a little bit of the AC/DC Rose Tattoo comparisons. Even though they're there, it's influenced. But I think this is the first where Airbourne really takes those influences, but uses it to their advantage. I think they really started to really kind of mold their own character with this album. 10 tracks here. Technically, it would be 13 if you had gotten the deluxe edition copy, which of course came with the live disc. That was recorded in 2011 at the Wacken Open Air. Again, they really kind of found style. They really started to really come in their own. I would say Airbourne really was beginning with this album, even though, again, the stuff they did before was all great, definitely showed a band that was hungry for success, that was just had that thriving attitude. But here, because of definitely the success that they were getting, this is the album I would say that really kind of started to really break them even more into the mainstream. Again, musically, especially if you listen to tracks such as the more almost re-envisioned version of Ready to Rock, which of course was originally on the EP, which I did, of course, which was the first of this series. But here, it's definitely a lot more different. Again, probably due to Brian Howes' production, he must have definitely had some influence and definitely kind of get the band to really to compose something that's at least more so them, instead of just completely imitating or, let's say, taking too much inspiration from their heroes. Even though, again, you get plenty of their influences from their hero, especially AC/DC. You definitely can hear that in songs such as of course, the song Ready to Rock, the title track, and of course, Live It Up, and those songs for sure. And of course, even some of the bonus tracks like, let me see, what's the one I'm thinking of? You Got the Skills to Pay the Bills, or Jack Attack, excuse me, which are at least some of the bonus tracks. Again, you definitely can tell that the band's put even more of their spin on songs, especially with the more commercially viable songs like Back in the Game, which was definitely another big track off here besides Live It Up. Of course, Live It Up was actually used for the WWE pay-per-view Extreme Rules that same year. And that's actually the first time I actually heard anything off this one, I will confess. I didn't completely follow much of Airbourne after Runnin' Wild. I completely kind of fell back. Even though I knew albums like No Guts, No Glory were released, I just really didn't hear anything off of them until many years later, and I'll get to that. But again, Live It Up is definitely a catchy fucking song, of course, starting off with an intro based on the sounds like airplanes and so on before really exploding into that almost classic AC/DC kind of track. Again, there's also other favorites will also be the song Animalize, which definitely kind of almost takes some inspiration from bands like Kiss for a good example. And it's a good song too. Other tracks off here that are also definitely great is Cradle to the Grave, which is definitely also the more melodic songs off this album. Definitely almost kind of reminded me almost like Another Perfect Day era Motorhead track almost. Of course, it takes its title from a Motorhead track, though not off of, was it one of the songs that was recorded for the Rock and Roll album, but it's definitely not a cover. Also, what is not a cover is Firepower here, which is another sort of classic AC/DC Rose Tattoo influenced track here. Definitely, of course, predates the Judas Priest song of the same name. But definitely, as far as of course, again, this is very much the most commercially, almost more mainstream, more melodic, and definitely the album where I say they really started building their own character, where I say really the band came into their own. You still get some classic Airbourne sounding tracks, and one of them being Hungry, which is a fast, heavy rocker. Definitely kind of bringing them almost a much more heavier, almost more metal influenced sound. And I definitely should also point out that it seemed like with each album, they just get heavier and more metallic sounding. Definitely kind of letting people know that Airbourne's actually making their own character. They're really building it. And with each release, you just definitely, I would say, you actually get the understanding of what Airbourne are really doing. And it's just taking, again, the same influence and stuff from their heroes, but, again, molding it in their own vision. And that's definitely something you get with this album. And I definitely could go on and try and go by each structure. And there's definitely some favorites on this album, especially one of my main favorites would definitely be Live It Up, Firepower, Hungry, and Black Dog Barking. And also I'm forgetting to mention that I had already mentioned that Live It Up was used for the WWE pay-per-view Extreme Rules, which I'm also forgetting that the fact that Airbourne has been, has had their songs used by the wrestling promotion for many of their pay-per-views. Of course, going back to the Runnin' Wild album, the song Stand Up for Rock and Roll was actually used for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view in 2008. Of course, also, when coming to some of the bonus tracks that were used for the Diamond Cuts, one of the many songs that was also left off was actually Airbourne's, their version of the song Turn Up the Trouble, which was used for former WWE wrestler Mr. Kennedy. So there you go. That's pretty much all I can kind of come up with. Again, this was definitely a solid album for sure from Airbourne. It was definitely showing what this band, or at least finally kind of building their own character. So from here on out, this would be the last thing Airbourne would do for Roadrunner Records, and after this, they would end up signing with Spine Farm, and of course also doing a deal with also Network Productions. So after that, we'll definitely see what comes up that deal, what they end up releasing. So with that, all in all, just definitely one of Airbourne's crowning achievements, for sure. Definitely also kind of bringing some fresh air into a idea that has been kind of considered old or completely outdated. But they just were able to make it fresh with this album, and just, again, there's some stuff on here that I will find that would be kind of uncharacteristic for bands like AC/DC, or that I would say, so again, songs like Back in the Game definitely are just really pure and simple Airbourne originals. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. This is Avery Thrasher's. I'm out, and I'll see you all real soon. Take care, everyone.